What do we know about the Lane Kiffin saga as it stands on Thursday night? We're going to bring in Michael Katz to talk all about this exhausting subject.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now it's the number one podcast network sports-wise in America. Thank you for that. On today's show, we will talk about the saga that's gripping the nation, and that is, where will Lane Kiffin coach football next year? We're going to talk with Michael Katz of the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal about that. And really, that's about it. We're going to spend the next 20, 25 minutes talking about Lane Kiffin. So if you're here for that, you're going to enjoy that, but don't misunderstand what's going on. Remember, we're free and available in all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers that make the show what it is. Your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That is awesome. Anyway, Michael, listen, I'm exhausted. I went to sleep last night at 8:30 Eastern and slept all the way through the night like it was nothing. It was like I was a 75-year-old man and going through it. Surely you being on the ground in Oxford, it has to be about the same, even though I got about 20 years on you.
Yeah, so hand up, I'm not a morning person. I do not do well with alarms before a certain time. And I have been getting up at like 5 every day for the last few days just to make sure I didn't miss something. Like that's where we're at right now. I'm tired, man. I just want to rest.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like Ole Miss is getting ready for a playoff run, potentially playing an Egg Bowl for the biggest regular season, most historic regular season they've ever had, essentially. The playoffs would be the biggest game in college football in the state of Mississippi, and all we are talking about is will he or won't he. It's like we're watching Ross and Rachel fight it out, will he, won't he, in a rerun. That is what's going on at this point.
You know, that's actually that works because I have an older sister and I always had to watch Friends with her, and I hated Friends. So and I also hate doing this. So this fits. This is very similar for me.
So as we sit here and think about it stuff, we talked about how, he's going to LSU, and now we're hearing rumblings that he might be going to Florida. The one thing that I feel pretty good about at this point is he's not staying at Ole Miss, but he's so unpredictable, you can't even 100% rule that out.
Yeah, I mean, I've used the term wildcard a lot with him over the last few years. And I mean, listen, 2022, he was going to Auburn until he wasn't, right? You know, you never know what's going through his head. And, you know, I always tell people, like, when they ask me for my predictions or my thoughts, I'm like, dude, I can't even imagine what is going through that man's head, because he sees the world a lot differently than most of us do. He's wired different. He, you know, and he's, you know, he made a point of this in the SEC teleconference yesterday, which was electric. Oh my God. That was appointment audio listening / viewing.
Real quick, it sounded like he was not let in on the secret of what he has been doing for 7 days. Like nobody let him know that was happening and what was going on. The whole world's like burning down, and he's literally doing the Nero thing on the roof fiddling.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he thought that he was going to get questions about like third down defense or something. But yeah, man, it was something. It was a 10 minutes that I'm glad I recorded. I transcribed that thing so fast because it got weird, as it was always going to be. But you know, he talked about in a teleconference, like, earlier in his career, he just kind of did things, right? He would do things without thinking it through. And then he mentioned that, now he thinks things through. And it's like, okay, well, like, what does that mean here? Like, because like, what would reactionary Lane have done? What does thinking man Lane do? Where are we right now? Like, again, everything that I've heard the last week, I've been like, oh, he's staying. Oh, no, he's going. He's going. And I'm like, oh, nope, he's staying. That one sounded like he's staying. It's just, there's so many messages. I just don't know what to make of all of it. And I think that's just how he works. And I know he's never going to let you in on exactly what's going on. But it's crazy. Again, a 10-1 Ole Miss team, and nobody's talking about it.
It's absolutely nuts. There was a tweet that went out on Thursday from Chris Lowe basically saying if Ole Miss loses the Egg Bowl, they're out of the playoffs, essentially. And it's because of all of this. And that would be incredibly unfair to the student athletes that you're supposedly supposed to care about in that situation, but that's beside the point. And I think in this situation, everybody is playing the game and hanging on every word. Is like, is he going? Is he staying? All of that and going. When you look at the actions of what has actually happened, there is no staying, really. There's some placating and get people off my back that happens then in a storm every now and then, but there doesn't seem to be any staying.
I don't know. He's in freaking Dallas right now for something.
Allegedly, that could be.
Well, yeah, that could be a picture for. Yeah, this is true. This is true. I mean, you had the insane greeting card, cuteblessings.com.
Well, graphic design is his passion.
I mean, just he's playing the hits right now, man. I mean, every possible thing that you could think that would be thrown out right now is being thrown. We are getting all of the smoke screens right now. It's nauseating.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If I could give a class at the University of Mississippi on how to destroy a Q rating seemingly almost overnight without doing something despicable like on its own, just a series of stuff, I don't know if you could drop down as far as Lane Kiffin was pretty close to 100% approval rating. I don't know if he could get a cup of coffee at Ajax right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. And then, of course, you've got on LSU, you've got people camping out in the bushes of airports trying to figure out who's who. And I mean, it's just college football is like, it's the best, but I mean, we are in crazy time right now. And this is, I've been fortunate to cover some pretty crazy college football stuff. I don't think anything's ever going to beat this one because this is like genuinely insane.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I was like, okay, I'm just going to go dark on Saturday. I'm going to release your video on Thursday night at like 7:00, just because it won't get
old takes exposed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, whenever that happens, I'm going to do that. And tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to happen, but tomorrow at about noon, I have an interview scheduled with Walker Jones. So that would be interesting. So I can't wait to ask some questions there if he shows up. But it's nuts what's going on. Listen, I talk to people on the LSU side. I talk to people on the Florida side, and everybody has, I'm not just talking about confidence. I'm talking about extreme confidence. Like they're talking like they've seen a contract or something. And it's to the point where he can't be telling anybody no at this point.
I made that joke last week where it was like the Mavericks GM got fired and I was like, oh no, another job for Lane Kiffin. But like it's kind of coming true right now. Like literally any job available, it's like, well, maybe they could hire Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
It's
nuts. It's nuts. It's actually pretty good. Anyway, when we come back, we are going to talk about the Egg Bowl because the shame in this whole thing is the fact that a 10-1 football team is not getting the love that they deserve. We are going to talk about that. We are going to talk about basketball a little bit in the next couple of segments. But Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal. We'll be right back after this. All right, college football is back, and I could not be much more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That is why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw some amazing deals. I'm talking about my favorite college football games for as low as $25. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment to this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcatcher and give it a 5-star review. It costs nothing, but it keeps all of this free. Locked On is getting ready to change the game yet again, all in the name of having fun following your team. It's coming in December. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. That happened because of you. There is a meeting tomorrow, Michael. There is a meeting that's going to be between, I guess I'm just going to call it the ultimatum meeting, because that's the meeting that turned into an ultimatum before. But that's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow has a chance to be an all-time weird day, but my point is the focus should not be taken off of these kids. This was a team that was supposed to be 7-5, 8-4. If you listen to the national experts, they should be undefeated right now, other than a fourth quarter meltdown. I think looking at the Egg Bowl, the story needs to be not whether or not Lane Kiffin is doing whatever Lane Kiffin's doing. It's about these kids and this team that has a chance to be statue worthy for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, like one of the great stories in college football this year is being overshadowed by, this whole situation. We've talked a lot about Trinidad Chambliss and his story, and he's sort of like, I feel like he sort of represents the whole team as sort of the underdog that like no one gave a ton of credit to beforehand. Listen, this was a team that was so close last year and had all the talent in the world. I mean, that was a top 5 roster for the most part in college football last year, and they came up short. And then you're supposed to have this rebuilding year, and what's the quarterback going to look like? How do you replace all these receivers, the All-Americans on defense? And like, here they are with one, again, could be undefeated. We're one terrible quarter at Georgia away from
really one play.
Yeah, one play. Yeah, they've got that fourth down stop. You're 11-0.
Yeah.
They were one play away from being perfect and in position for a bye and the SEC title, the championship game. So it really is just an incredible story of a team that, hand up. I thought 8-4, 9-3 was probably realistic. I thought 10-2 was the absolute best case scenario. This team has overperformed all of my expectations, and I think most people's expectations. Maybe not their own. They will always tell you that they think they're good. They're never going to tell you, "Oh man, we thought we were going to be really bad this year." But this is a team that's gutsy. They don't have the margin for error that they did last year. I mean, that's there's a reason that they're in so many one-score games, but they're winning the one-score games this year. They did not win a single one-score game last year. Despite, I think their average margin of victory was like 30 points a game last year, but not a single one-score win. This team isn't going to blow a ton of people out unless it's, your FCS team, Georgia State. But they're gutsy. I mean, they've been fun to cover. Again, Trinidad has just been a delight to see his story. Kewan, Lacy. I mean, he's been incredible. I mean, that's if he is not a first team All-SEC back, there's a problem. I mean, he's been everything that they needed last year. They could have used him real bad last year. The defense took its lumps, but they've got these homegrown guys who have kind of come into their own. I mean, it's really just sort of been this amazing story. And again, you've got a chance to be the first 11-win regular season team in program history, clinch your ticket to the playoff, which is all you heard about all offseason was, man, what a bust Ole Miss was last year. Man, that was the best team in Ole Miss history, maybe. And look, they didn't get it done. And like, you are right there. And it's not even the conversation right now. I feel bad for the players in that regard because, this isn't in their control. They're just trying to go out there and practice and play and win a game. And, they would love nothing more than to be 11-1 and make the playoff. But there's just so much stuff happening right now. It's got to be tough. I know, they've talked about how they don't really think there's distractions, but I feel like we're at a point in this saga where there has to be distractions, right? Like you can't tell me that this isn't something that is getting brought up in somewhere in that building. It has to be. That's just how that's how human nature works.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And the hilarious thing is the same person that's leaving because he can't recruit top talent to Ole Miss went 9-3 with a top 5 roster in all of college football a year ago. And all of this, the weirdness of this. And listen, Ole Miss fans were aware what they were getting when they signed up for the Lane Kiffin experience. Ole Miss came into this with the eyes open. But whenever you treat somebody so well over the course of 6 years and don't say no essentially to that person for 6 years, and they do this, it's really a hard thing to deal with, honestly, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I joke that like we do this every year in some capacity of the circus of the coaching cycle. It was obviously very real in 2022. Things get thrown out in other years, but they obviously didn't materialize. But there's just something about this one again with everything at stake. Like, man, would you really be willing to leave a team before the playoff? Because again, Ole Miss, I can't imagine a scenario where they're like, hey man, you can leave us, but go coach the playoff. I think that is the all-time bad look. I think they do not want to look weak in this situation, you would imagine. All you've ever wanted is like to win a national championship. You've got a chance right now. And if you leave it, that's tough. So, again, like Ole Miss has given Lane everything he's wanted in his time here. And Lane has given Ole Miss everything it could have wanted, except maybe a little bit more commitment on certain situations. But I mean, he's raised the bar. There's no question. But the ultimatum / deadline / the talk, whatever you want to call it. I think that kind of takes some stones by Ole Miss's administration too, to be like, hey man, like we're not doing this anymore. Like we need an answer because we have to look out for our football program.
Yeah. And I think that's because that, like I said, I don't know this for myself. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but that little notepad, that piece of paper that Keith Carter keeps in the top of his drawer for football coaches, one of those guys is available, and there's a little bit of a time crunch right now, which tomorrow's show, we're going to talk a little bit about him. So we will see exactly how that goes. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to finish up with Michael Katz. Ole Miss struggled with Austin Peay. They got the win, but they struggled, and Chris Beard did one of the most hilarious things that Chris Beard does, and we'll talk to Michael Katz about that coming up after this. All right, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine those live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps the game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Michael. One thing that's interesting, Ole Miss squeaked by Austin Peay. I think they won by double digits, but it was closer in that for a good portion of the game. There was a run late where they were able to stretch it out. But Chris Beard was not happy at the end of the game, and he sent all 5 of the starters in to face the media in the post-game press conference, which he does when he is not pleased with what they did. So tell me what you think about that move, which I love, and tell me if you think that Austin Peay was a blip, they were overlooking for Iowa, or if there was a systematic problem.
Yeah, I think that's an all-time hilarious move. It's, hey, like, you look at what you did. You're going to stand in front of everybody and let them know how bad you were. He's done it a couple times. It's always funny because, they are just like, oh, no, like, we have to do this. We have to answer for our sins. It's great. And I understand, like, listen, going to press conferences shouldn't be a reason that oh man, if we play well, we don't have to go. I'll go out there and talk, but whatever gets the point across. Hey man, like, answer for why this was a close game. Whatever works. I do think that sometimes that sort of thing can work. It's worked before, but absolutely hilarious. I lean towards blip. I still think this team is really good. I do still think it is learning what it is a little bit. Obviously Elias and Malik and all these guys, like, we know that they are good, but like, can they be consistently good when you need them to on a given night or when the chips are down? I don't know if we have all those answers yet. So obviously, would you have loved to have been, won a non-conference game like that by a ton and not have to sweat it out? Like, obviously. But at the same time, like, man, you'd rather get this kind of game out of the way than in January, at Vanderbilt or, whoever it's against, because, even if they had lost this game, it wouldn't really have, it hurts your RPI, but you can probably rebound from it because you're in the SEC. But I think that this is still, there's a little bit of there's a learning curve here with this team trying to figure everything out. And, it's a heck of a lot better to win a game like that than to lose a game like that, for sure. And I think it's a lot easier to try to fix things after a win, a close win where nobody feels good about it, than it is after a loss like that, because a loss like that, there can be some hurt feelings.
Yeah, and it's not going to get any easier. Ole Miss has, I think, Iowa on Tuesday, and Iowa's a pretty good basketball team.
Yeah, no, it's about to get really interesting. I think we've all sort of been waiting for. I think the Memphis game gave us a glimpse at what they can do against really good players, because Memphis always has supreme talent. This Iowa is always seemingly in the tournament. I believe they have a new coach. It's either his first or second year, but that's always a good program. They are always a contending team in the Big Ten. So that's going to be interesting. I'm curious, and they're going to be on the road too. So that'll that switches things up a little bit. What's in San Diego or Palm Springs? It's one of those. Palm Springs, back in my homeland.
Where is Palm Springs exactly?
It's the desert, so it's they're lucky they're not playing in August because it would be 400 degrees.
Okay.
But Palm Springs is lovely if you can afford it. I personally cannot. Maybe with some NIL money I could.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so tomorrow is the ultimatum meeting, air quotes there. What do you think is going to happen?
Somebody actually asked me earlier today, gun to my head, what happens? And I literally said I would die because I would take too long. I'd be like, and then they would just get sick of it. I don't know. There's still a part of me that thinks that this is all a charade and this is just the showman. But there's also just so many reasons why he might leave. I legitimately have no clue how this goes. I wish I could be in that meeting so bad. I want nothing more. Man.
I will say this. Keith Carter, through this whole process, has been a straight gangster, and he's doing everything that Ole Miss fans want him to do as athletic director. And if any star comes out of this whole situation, it's once again Keith Carter.
Yeah, he's not going to be bullied, and that takes again some stones when you are dealing with a coach of this magnitude who has this persona and this pull and all this stuff around him. Keith's had to put, I firmly believe Keith's one of the best ADs in the country. I've thought that for a while, but just the way that he has handled this, I don't think he needed to show us that he could put on his big boy pants or anything like that, but he definitely has. Not getting bullied in this situation is really you got to commend him for that. However this ends.
All right, what do you got going on at the Daily Journal? Are you working on anything?
You know what? It's a bye week, so it's been really slow. I have like 1,000 different stories that I've started to write just in case all these certain things happen, so then I can post it whenever what happens does happen. But regardless of what happens in the next however long, the Daily Journal will have you covered.
Michael Katz from the Northeast Mississippi Tupelo Daily Journal. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is absolutely free. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hotty toddy, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. Feels like that phrase might not be around long. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.